like everybody, I'd be happy with the win. I thought, our team played very well at times. We did something we haven't been doing. We sustained some things in the second half. Heck, we even got better in the second half. We didn't turn the ball over as much. I thought the one thing we did a poor job of was rebounding, and that surprised me. Give them credit for that. They rebounded the ball real well. That's how they got some shots. Our initial defense, holding them 30-some%, the team that shoots it as well as them, I thought was outstanding. But then they got some second shots. Didn't feel our guards did a very good job rebounding the basketball. So we're going to have to improve in that area. But if you look at what we shot, 52%, 45. If we look at getting McQuaid a couple of threes, seems like nothing to most of you. You should have seen the team reaction to him in the locker room. They were all so happy for him. I thought we got a lot out of our bench with McQuaid. Goins did a pretty good job, and Winston. You want to know ahead of time, the Nick Ward thing. I mean, I think we could have hurt them with Nick, and there was an offensive-defensive trade-off, and then we had an issue on out-of-bounds plays that we were struggling a little bit, so we'd replace him during those, and then hard to get him back in. But we played good enough, and he probably feels the same way to win the game, and yet it wasn't like we shot the lights out or did this or that, so we still have a lot of room for improvement, and we're going to try to improve a lot in the next couple of weeks. The turnovers might have been one of the big keys. Making free throws, Cassius, that's what they got to have. Give Walton credit. He did what seniors do. He kind of took over that game and just got to the line. He did an unbelievable job of it and made, I think, I guess he missed one. But I thought he played awfully well. I thought either we did a decent job on Irvin, we put a lot into him, or he just didn't have one of those days. But there were a lot of good things, and yet there were some that we'll keep working on, so I'll open up for questions.
Time to stay on McQuaid. How much easier is life when he is willing to shoot and can knock down 3 threes for you in a game and you can play him like that?
That was well put. The first part almost as much as the second, willing to shoot. I don't know how many shots he got up. How many did he get up, 8 or 9? 5? Not a ton, but the 3 for 3 from the 3, and every one of them looked good. And you got to get some confidence somehow. And I said confidence is earned, not given. And kids worked hard at it. And I think what I liked the most is the way the team felt about it for him. So we got a lot of different guys that played well. And, whether anybody wants to believe this or not, the crowd did a great job for us. That's what happens. I asked everybody to do their job, and for the most part, other than a couple of mistakes on defensive coverages, I thought each guy did his part. That's a very good shooting team. That's very effective. So I was happy with McQuaid and happy with our effort in that respect.
Coach, it's the Michigan team that just put up 90 on Indiana. You held them under 27% from 3. How did you feel about your execution, effort level, all those things on the perimeter?
I'm so confused on how these teams are all doing, including us. You see a performance like Indiana against us, and then you see the next one. You see one, North Carolina just kills somebody, and the next one they get beat by 20. I've been saying it for months to you guys, to our media, that I just can't believe the ebbs and flows, and that was a good example. I mean, Indiana, look at how good they played against us and shot. They didn't make any shots, it seemed like, at Michigan. I made some percentage-wise, and Michigan made every shot against Indiana and some shots. And they had some good ones. They didn't go in, but I think that's what happens when you do a decent job early. They don't get hot. What we didn't do at Indiana was a decent job early, and what Indiana didn't do at Michigan. So, I look at it as, we did a pretty good job. I also think they missed some shots, but I thought the effort, I thought both teams played hard, and consequently, it was a game down to the wire.
Tom, you talked about the freshmen getting involved in this rivalry early on and understanding, how it goes. Derek Walton did his part with the leadership on that side. Speak to his performance today, but also the 3 of your 4 freshmen going out there, double figures and whatnot.
I've always liked Walton. He's a good player. He's got that intangible that I love. He's tougher than nails. He's just a tough kid. Tough kid, coach's son. All the things that, shot wasn't quite falling for him, so he figured out a way to get on the scoreboard, and that's what great players do. So I thought his performance was almost heroic. He did a pretty good job defensively and missed a couple shots that I've seen him make lately. He's been shooting the ball real well. But finding another way, that's one thing I told Miles at the end, we put him in some one-on-one situations, and Miles tries to use his athletic ability to glide there. The problem is you're not going to get any fouls called if you're gliding. He's got to learn to get 2 feet and go up and learn how to get fouled. So that's something that we're going to really have to work with him on. I thought Walton did a great job of that. But he's a hell of a player. He's a 4-year player, and today he played like one.
Tom, did you catch Miles' reaction on his assist to McQuaid in the corner on that 3? He seemed like the happiest guy in the building. Just wonder if you saw that.
Well, when you only get 1 or 2 a week, it's tell Miles that if you get more assists, it wouldn't be something that's never happened to you before. But you know what the cool part of that was? Miles could care less about his assist. It was what he cared about for McQuaid. I told Miles he's got to become more of a leader because he is our best player, and to do that, you got to bring all the guys together. He's not great at it yet, but he sure is making some effort. And I think, if you would have watched him in that locker room, he was so happy for the other guys. And that's why I said he's a different kind of great player and one I'm lucky to be coaching.
Tom, Justin kind of hit on it a little bit already, but at what point when you're watching Derek or just a player in general, at what point do you kind of realize that he's got that mode? You mentioned this kind of heroic.
Got it. He's got it. Yeah, that's what you got. You got it. It is a thing that you find a way to win games. You find a way to rally your team. He talks to people. He talks on defense. You know what he is, guys. In all honesty, he's in a good program. He's well coached, and he's a senior. And when those 3 things happen and guys keep getting better each year, that's what happens. So, been a fan of his since I recruited him, and hasn't changed any because I love the way he plays. I love how hard he plays.
Tom, someone else? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Real quick, is there a moment, though, when you notice that a player is going to have, one of these type of games, and what do you say and how do you kind of adjust to that?
Well, I don't mean to be a jerk, but he was 4 for 12, so it wasn't like, yeah. I mean, he's good at that. I mean, again, I don't mean that either way. I just mean it wasn't like he was hitting jump shots and you're saying, wow, this guy's taking over. I mean, at the end, he had to do what he had to do. And part of that, believe it or not, we deserve a little credit for it because the defense was good enough on those 3-point shooters. And when you do that, you're going to leave some lanes open to drive. What I think he does a great job of is he finds a way to get fouled. Some guys try to find a way to just get the shot up. He does a great job of putting his body in there, and I mean that respectfully. He does a very good job. He draws fouls, and that's why I say Miles has to learn how to draw fouls. Cassius does a decent job of that. He's just not as strong, as Derek is, but Cassius will be. He did a pretty good job himself at doing that. He's going to get stronger and better as we go.
Tom, did Ellis and McQuaid make some progress defensively out there in the wings? Was that part of your defensive effort today?
McQuaid doesn't need to make a lot of progress. Ellis does, and he made some good plays. And, I felt bad because Elvin, he threw the ball away twice on layups, and it's just, that's the way we are yet. We're, one good, one bad, and we're subbing for a good and a bad. The thing with Nick and Kenny, we just got to get Nick the ball a little bit more. We started off, got him the ball 2 out of the first 3 possessions, and he scored. And then they did a decent job getting around him, but we did a poor job getting it to him. So there's a lot of things, like I say, we got to get better at, and we're going to keep working on them.
Not to make too big of a deal out of the Bridges pass to McQuaid, but it seemed like Bridges knew 1 or 2 dribbles or 1 or 2 beats ahead of time. He was going to go to McQuaid and drew the defense, whereas maybe 2 months ago it might have been a charge. You talked about trying to get other guys to complement what Bridges does. Was that an example of Bridges recognizing that a teammate was going to be there for him?
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. I think, we're just seeing Miles. Trust me when I say he's not the same player he was, but he's getting very close again. And by now he should be getting a lot better than he was. We're just trying to get him back to where he was. And I say that just because the time he missed. So, getting better with the ball. We really went to him in the post a couple times. We haven't done that yet this year, and he responded. The one-on-one we hadn't worked on. It was just what we went to, and I think we can improve on that. It's going to be fun. There's a lot of things I think we can still do with this kid now that he's healthy and raring to go.
Tom, with how well you guys played defensively and everybody you said doing their job, it looked like some of the best qualities of your team came out in this game. Do you think it was the importance of the game, the opponent? Did they feel the weight of the situation, do you think, to deliver that performance?
Well, there's definitely pressure on these kids, that's no secret to anybody, and somehow get all the sound bites on this. Our crowd made a difference. The crowd made a difference. It's just the way it is. And I'm not saying they don't all the time, but it made a big difference. And players said it at halftime. I think in life everybody gets complacent, me included sometimes. And so sometimes, as somebody wrote me, it's okay to struggle a little bit. It makes you re-look at what's important and what you got to get back to. And I thought we had a good week of practice. I thought my assistants did a great job of really covering things. We tried to do it without taking up all their time. We tried to do it with short meetings and film sessions. And it's not an easy cover when you got 5 guys that can shoot it for a team that hasn't been through that. So you think of our last 2 games, we play a team with 2 posts as big as Bohemians as we're going to play against. And then we go against, 2 bigs who stay out on the 3-point line half the time. So that's a difficult transition, especially for young guys to make. I thought we were good defensively. I didn't think we were great. They had some looks. They missed some shots. Maybe our crowd helped on that too. So I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure of the difference.
Tom, because of the opponent that you played today, did Cassius Winston or Kenny Goins or Van Dyke give a special speech or anything before the game?
No, those young guys aren't speaking to anybody. They're just kind of focusing in on what we got to do. I'll do the speaking, but I did remind Cassius before, and I reminded him, when he came out. That's what these games are all about. And if you really miss that, and it's the same for them, it's fun when you can impact 500,000 people. It wasn't the 15,000 that were there that you can impact. Me, I'm not on Twitter, but I know Magic was tweeting stuff, and I know Draymond was calling me and yelling at me about things, and I know that, that's what they do, and I'm sure their guys do the same thing. It's an important game. I think both programs respect each other, and that's what makes it a good game. But you win that game, and it's not like football where you win one and you get to gloat for 365 days. I don't think we're going to do any gloating now or after next week, no matter what happens. I think we're looking at this as it's getting us a chance to do the things that we still think we can do this year and accomplish.
Tom, when you mentioned about Nick earlier, I guess walk us through a little bit of the substitution early on. Was part of that just what Michigan was doing on the offensive boards with him too?
I don't know if on the offensive boards, but on the offensive end, what happens sometimes that's so hard to explain to people is it's not always Nick's fault either. If you got a great guy getting over ball screens, you don't need a great center to help out on those ball screens. If you don't have as good a guy getting over ball screens, then you need to put more pressure on that guy. So, Kenny's the best at it. Tom's the best at it from a guard position. And there's just times that, certain lineups, certain matchups, just aren't as conducive. But some of it, I told you, was on those out-of-bounds plays. If you notice, that's where we subbed some. And it was just because it's harder for freshmen to pick up certain things. But today, all honesty, Nick did nothing wrong. He still played 16, 18 minutes, whatever he played, and he was 6 for 6 and 1 for 2. It bothers me he didn't have a defensive rebound. There was some standing around there that we took him out early. But I can only imagine what those freshmen, are going through on a first rivalry game where it's, you could feel it was thick in the air, And I told you last week that, If both teams are playing for a championship, it's big. But if both teams are playing for survival, it's just as big or even bigger sometimes. So, it was a little hard on Nick.
Hey, Tom, Denzel Valentine averaged 3.3 points a game as a freshman, and Draymond Green 5. And yet you've got today your freshmen have to be your leaders, have to do different things. This is new territory for you, and you've been through the battle here for the first part of the year. What has it been like? And you've got to do everything at kind of warp speed with these guys. What's that's been like? And were you happy with today? Because it seemed like they reacted well.
Well, we get 15, 13, 16, and Josh, did not. It was that's the other thing. Even Josh, I mean, we need him in there, but sometimes we got 4 freshmen in there. We just got nobody to help somebody. They can take care of their own, but they can't take care of the others. So I thought Elvin did a pretty good job of giving us that. But we need Josh too, and those 3 are our leading scorers. Those 3, 2 of them did a pretty good job on the boards. I mean, it's different. It's different. I looked at the Kentucky game last night, and I saw one team playing 3 freshmen a lot, maybe even 4, and one team playing 4 juniors and seniors a lot, and 1 freshman. And even at Kentucky, they got them. I heard John's comments after the game, and it is what it is. I mean, that's why I am proud of this team for bouncing back, because it's not easy either when you lose 3 in a row, and and people aren't happy with you, and coaches aren't happy with you. And, this is part of the growing process that I think will really help this team. But now we'll see. We sustained a little bit better for a game. We did a pretty good job on a turnover, not giving up 6 or 8 points. We gave up 3 a couple times. They made some good shots. But we did a pretty good job of that. Now we'll see if we can do that to the next game, if we can carry it over to the next game. Thanks.
He got it.